Good morning, afternoon, or evening, folks.
Hi.
Let folks fill in here for a little bit. Morning, Kevin.
Morning, Drummond.
Morning, Christian. Our new co-chair that did Methods Working Group.
Ooh,
That's yeah. This is important news. Appreciate that. How you doing, Carly?
yeah, pretty good. Pretty good. My internet was down for the morning. That was a lot of work.
Oh, that's those are not nice things.
No,
Yeah,
We
well,
need
that's happened
backups
here.
now. We need like two connections. Expensive.
I know. I took the time to quietly reflect on my current work without interruption.
Wow. It's like a meditation retreat.
People pay money for that. I got it for free.
You said you got for free. Oh, that's good. That's quite good. All right. I will share my screen here. Prepare to get going. Yeah, that's it there. I think I got the right one. Yes. And ah, Reese, I hope you can stay a bit today because I've got a recap on the amazing Kauai Summit on the agenda here.
I'm
Uh,
here. I'm here all the time, so
I
I'll-
can tell
okay.
your voice is a little strained because of
It
all
is,
the.
yeah. Gosh, that was an exhilarating full time.
It certainly was. That was
He hath
and I and
summited.
yes, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Nice thing was that I then went from there to have a fabulous visit with my younger son, who lives in Venice Beach, and so it was really an outstanding trip in every way. I need more excuses to go to LA. All right, we are at 4 minutes after the hour, so that's our usual warm-up time. Let's go ahead and get going. Welcome everyone to the March 13th meeting of the Decentralized Trust Graph Working Group. And as always, the first thing we do, and we put it right at the top of the agenda, is share our antitrust policy notice for everyone. Remind folks we are one of two joint working groups between TrustRP and DIF, Decentralized Data Foundation. So members are welcome from either one of those. And this is also when we stop and say, any new members, if you'd like to do introduction, you're welcome to do that. You can raise your hand and do one. You can put something in the chat, or you can, I'll grab this link here, also add something to our bio page, which I will put in the chat. If you want to know more about the other folks participating in the working group. But I'm not seeing any hands up. So we will dive right into a quick review of the agenda. We have our fairly quick two task force reports. I will update everyone on the new task force and repos, homepages, repos that we've got set up. Then we'll have our report on the Kauai Summit. And try not to make Riza any more hoarse than he already is. And then our main topic for today, Martina has been doing some deep work on her interaction architecture model, and she will be running us through it. So can take us to a couple really good, questions that we can discuss and debate as a group. And so away we go. Any additions or revisions to the agenda before we dive in? If not, let's start out. We always check to see does anyone have any general updates they want to share? Oh, well, there's one right there. Riza says we got full summit videos. So I will copy that link and put it in right now. Whoops, it's weird how this. Oh, okay, so uh, from the Kwai Summit. I'll just put the link to that. And I recommend several of those talks. But again, we'll cover that when we get to that agenda item. Any other general updates anyone wants to share with the group? Upcoming for a while. There's actually not any major conferences I'm headed to until IAW coming up end of April, but we still got a ways for that. All right, if nothing else, quick to check. I will be reporting out on both of these action items from the last meeting. We have all 5 of these repos now created, and we have the new pages. I'll cover that for home pages for all of our new task forces. So I'll cover that shortly. Next up, do we have Nikki here? I do not see her. And so I'm quickly just going to report so risk assessment harms is now meeting every other week. So there was not a meeting this week. So the only thing to report is they did request a repo and they now have it. So they can start posting documents and discussions there. And so I will actually take the action for to notify her offline by Nikki because she's not able to be here today. I'll take care of that one. All right. Credentials. Again, we the main things that happened over this last week is we got the requested repo for creating the Trust RP template. I will connect with Jeff, Martina, and others about that because it turns out that we can also create the template text in the existing spec-up T repo. If folks are not familiar with it, I'll just quickly put why is this just not working there? T T. Put a link in the chat here. Huh. My macros are not working. What's going on there? Spec. 1 second. There we go. If I do that, that's what I thought. Oh, I put it up. I had my cursor in the wrong place. That's what's going on. Copy that link address. All right. So there is the link to SpecUp T, the editing utility that we'll be using. And that actually should go down there. There we go. And so what we're going to try and do is get the template together by within the next week so we can start actually then drafting the credential spec, which version 03, I think everyone has that credentials spec 0.3 is here. V03. If anyone wants to review that. So, Jeff, anything else to report on the credentials task force?
No, nothing from my side. Thanks.
Yep. Okay. Which is why since we're ready to roll that into spec, that's why we wanted to get the other task forces going. So we now have home pages and repos for our cards, for the Trust Task Protocols Task Force, and agent names. And that means I can finally take care of my action item, getting the agent names materials posted, and we can start discussions in each of those. There's been some good one-on-one discussions about our cards and using JS Contact as the base for that. So we should be able to go pretty quickly on that. But the one of these that I think is the most urgent now is Trust Task Protocols. Glenn Gore, who's not here with us right now. Yeah, Sanker Shen, you're absolutely right. That'll be give us. And by the way, all those repos, if you went and looked early, they didn't have discussions turned on, and I don't know why. And Rye Jones at LFDT that created all these for us does not know why either. And it's not something I have maintainer access to those, but I couldn't find it or turn it on. But he was able to do that, so they should all have discussions turned on now. They do have the wiki feature, and of course, issues and all the rest. Glenn is eager to. Affinity is creating. They have Trust Task protocols that they've created to be already doing some of these things like they did in the H2H Connect app that was used at the Summit for Human Agency. So they want to contribute those and get that discussion going quickly. Steve, you have your hand up. Go ahead.
Just a kind of a general question of how some work of mine might fit into this. I want to be able to create a relationship space like an agent environment or a whiteboard or whatever that's essentially shared by two parties and have that then represented on an R card. In other words, be able to sort of hash the environment or hash the components of the environment into, something representative of its state, and then, have some way to report that through some sort of verifiable credential.
Well, it's that the whole idea of R cards is it is essentially a verifiable data structure that right now the proposal is that it's basically enclosed in a verifiable credential for the signature and transport capabilities, but otherwise so the general design is the R card spec will define the envelope of that verifiable data structure, and how it is transported or put inside the envelope of the verifiable credential for signing it and sharing it. And
yeah, I mean, ultimately, it'd just be a method that provides a field into the R card.
Yep.
Okay.
Exactly. Which is
Yeah.
perfect because that extensibility of the R card, the basic idea is we're going to say, hey, here's JS Contact for a bunch of standard fields if you want to use it for contact information, but here's how to include anything else.
Well, I guess I'm also just kind of putting myself outside, out there rather, to say if anybody wants to work on this, contact me and we'll talk about how we can create hashable workspaces to put them on our cards.
Yeah, please please do that, and feel free to put any contact info in chat if you'd like, if there are other folks that would like to collaborate on that. And one of the nice things is you can with the RCards repo, and I will copy this link just quickly so folks have it in the chat. You could start a discussion on that right now. Then feel free. I will. We just got all the repos set up yesterday, and I just created all the pages and everything last night. So I have not actually gone and started any discussions there, or they're all fresh. So
I'll do that. Sounds good.
Yeah, but they're there, and we'll start populating them right away. So if there aren't any, I mean, this is just all reporting this info out. If there aren't any other questions about any of that, let's dive into our two main items here, reporting on the Kwai Summit. And first, I just want to have Riza give you a little bit of an overview. I was one of the speakers, but I told him I have one complaint, which was they scheduled 8 straight hours of content with no breaks, no lunch, no coffee, no nothing. And as a consequence, because I had a very small breakfast, I had to miss I think 1.5 speakers because I had to just go get something to eat. But that was such incredibly good and dense content that was the only real complaint I had. Marisa, do you want to give your overview of how you think it went?
Well, thank you so much, Drummond. Yeah, it was intense. So the production crew all had a good breakfast before going on. The production crew were there all the time. Um, and yes, so I thought, okay, all the audience are autonomous agents that need to act in their own self-interest. And so if they need to go to potty break, don't put your hand up and say, "Can we stop?" Anyway, so you're right. It was packed with no break. Um, let me share briefly and give you an opportunity to see what was going on. Um, this was our fourth annual summit. The first one was held in a community college, the College of the Canyons, um, and it was pretty low key. It was in a theater room. Then we got introduced to Scale. There were two introductions. One from Jordan Schwartz, who runs LA DevOps, and that's a local meetup group, and then it turns out that one of our founding officers, Matt Small, also had a relationship. He was dorm buddies with one of the Scale organizers. So we got into Scale. They said, okay, we'll host you free of charge because theirs is a non-profit meetup as well. So Scale's in its 23rd year, and for the last 4 years, Quai programmed its AI track. It's not the only AI track. They had no AI. Presentations and sessions before Quai joined, but now, hey, now every man and his dog is an expert in AI. Okay, so you can see here flashing up who were the highlights. Let's go and have a look. This is the when you have a deck of playing cards, these are these are the picture cards over here. This fellow over here, Ben Goertzel, you should probably get to know who he is. He's the guy that coined the phrase AGI 20 years ago, and now it's a big thing. Rafi Krikorian's the incoming CTO of Mozilla, and he really realizes that Mozilla needs to play catch up because it was lagging behind in its AI game. It used to be kind of the leader of self-sovereignty and privacy preserving browsers, and now it needs to play catch up. And then our very own Drummond Reed, oh my word. We said, can you all upload your decks? We're not going to do any laptop switching at the podium and have that sort of video glitching thing going on. Everyone upload your deck. Drummond, was your deck 80 slides long? I can't remember. It was just
No, it
no.
wasn't that many. It was on the order of like 55.
Oh, exactly. 55 slides. Okay. Other people, anyway, but he went through it in such a timely manner. It's almost as if Drummond had rehearsed this stuff and knew it by heart. So it was densely packed. And then Richard Witt. Richard Witt was actually a late addition. The previous playing card over here was Doc Searles. So you might know Doc Searles, the author of the Clue Train Manifesto and the Intention Economy. Doc Searles is actually is one of the members of Quai. We've given him an honorific title, our Chief Intention Officer. Okay, so Ben Goertzel. I'm not going to play the videos here, but you can play them at your leisure. The highlights of what Ben revealed is he probably talked the longest, and he was supposed to be the opening keynote. And what happened? We get ready to unveil, and Ben's not in the auditorium. And so we actually had Rafi go first. Rafi was sitting right through the rehearsals. In order to get a production like this, you have to rehearse and you have to get everyone together. So Ben was sitting there in the back of the auditorium. So Rafi actually went up first, but Rafi's talk was really crisp. Owners, not renters. He says that we need to create um, an AI infrastructure and ecosystem where we are owners and we have equity and participation in the AI economy and services. Not the way it currently is, where we are forced to simply be renters, where a half a dozen oligarchs have vacuumed up all of our data free of charge and then charge us rent to go and visit our own data, to go and query our own data. He says that's not sustainable, it's not fair. Okay, so we're fully aligned with Rafi Krikorian's vision, and we're going to hope to help him. One is we need to get him part of the Linux Foundation. We need to get those groups that are inside Mozilla to participate in where the discussion is happening. And I'm going to argue the discussion's happening here. I don't see it happening in um, any of the other sort of technical groups. This is where MCP came. This is where A2A comes. This is where we're discussing the very nature of what is trust in a decentralized world. So thank you, Drummond, for your leadership there. But Ben Goertzel unveiled a platform called OpenBGI, and it is beneficial general intelligence. And this is the forum where he chose to unveil it. He's not talked about it before, and so go have a look at his deck. It's about a 30-minute talk. We've tried to top and tail it. We haven't edited much of it, and it's there. So then it was Ben, then Ruffy, or Ruffy, then Ben. Then along came Drummond with 55 slides, but absolutely dense, information packed, and he zipped through them really quickly. We're preaching to the converted here, but it was a revelation to a lot of people. People think about, okay, what does the web of trust look like? How does reputation migrate through a peer-to-peer fabric? And they didn't know that this was actually being worked on and formalized to the level that Drummond presented. So it's important for us to, when we're ready, to surface this up as to get it more into the sort of, not even the public discussion. We need to get it known by developers. The audience at scale is a developer audience. And so we're talking to the right people, because that's the way we get it into the public consciousness eventually. But it's through getting it into development, people that are developing the products and services for the next generation. No, not even generation, the next sort of couple of years. Stuff's moving so fast. So thanks, Drummond. Richard Witt. So Richard Witt organizes. He's ex-Mozilla, ex-Google. He's an attorney, and he left feeling that Google had basically lost its direction. He says this, initially Google had this motto, "Do no evil," and they silently kind of dropped that, and then started marginalizing people that were the voices of AI for good. One of them is Joy Buolamwini, who started to criticize the facial recognition program of Google. And I know that because I was working at the same time for Real Networks, and we were working on a facial recognition stack in parallel, and I could see that how the big players were sort of becoming, they were tap dancing around their original claims of being aligned with humanity, and started to play down all of those taglines. Okay, so Richard Witt's organization is called GlearNet, and they are promoting the idea of a net fiduciary, in the same way that a financial advisor or a bank has fiduciary responsibility over what you deposit with them, in this case, money. In the case of data brokers or service providers that take your data, they should exercise a fiduciary responsibility over your data. And um, there should be recompense if they lose your data or if your data is subject of a breach. Um, and so we are the second organization, Quai is the second organization to sign the fiduciary pledge, the net fiduciary pledge. Um, Play his video, you'll learn more about it. It goes into a lot of detail. Then these four guys, the picture cards, were basically put on trial over here. You can see they're in the dock, and the major inquisitor is Daniela Barbosa, the general manager of the Linux Foundation Decentralized Technology group, and quizzed them about, how they approach the notion of the question of who's going to own AI in the future. It was a probing conversation, and it's worth playing. Okay, so the Quai Summit follows a format. There's a keynote session where we have world leaders in a specific domain. This year it was decentralized AI. So, gosh, when I put into, I think I was using Perplexity, I said, give me the list of the top 100 thought leaders in decentralized AI. And these folks were at least in the top 10, top 20. And so then, uh, you know, so in some cases it was a matter of cold calling. I did not know this character over here. We've now become, hey, fast friends. And it was, I don't think we could have wished for a better assembly. Then we basically showcased our fundamental AI research work and the papers that have come out of it. Our director of research, Solomon Satari, unveiled the work on confidential vector search, basically homomorphic encryption on your knowledge base so that you don't have to reveal it to the likes of Sam Altman or Dario. No matter how much you trust them, you really want to keep that data private to yourself. However, you still want AI to operate on it. How's that possible? Well, it's possible through homomorphic encryption. We can tell you more about that. Oh, watch the video. Okay. So the mantra of fundamental AI research is we're researching to make AI safer, faster, and greener. Well, the safer part is the homomorphic encryption. To figure out the faster part, you need to benchmark first. So we decided, hey, let's benchmark the top vector databases, the top open source vector databases. We picked 7, and Myra Quadja, who heads the intern program, amongst other things, she heads the intern program. She unveiled the paper. Both of these ones have research outputs that have technical papers. This one went into the Society of Industrial Applied Mathematics. This one is going to be in the 4th edition of the Journal for Big Data and AI. Okay, so research was next, then development efforts were next. James Davis, he had just run a workshop on our peer-to-peer fabric on how we can shard a single LLM across multiple nodes. So that was a very technical work group that was in a classroom on the other side of the conference center. James Davis over here presented our browser extension that eliminates cookies. Well, it eliminates the cookie banners that pop up. And what it does is it engages in a machine-to-machine interaction where it clicks based on your preferences. So you set your preferences once, and your browser extension basically handles all of the cookie pop-ups that you're assaulted with now. It conforms with the MyTerms IEEE standard P7012, which docs curls ushered through standardization, and a few people at Quai helped on that, notably Steve Vitka and myself in the early days. Okay, Liam Broza is one of our sponsors. He gave a presentation on how to uncloud your life, basically repatriate all the vendor data so that you have it in your own private knowledge base and you can have a personal AI that's informed by your own knowledge base. And he also unveiled a small hardware box that looked like a tiny PC that could do all that. Okay, Bruce Schneier. Does anyone know Bruce Schneier? Probably the world leader in cryptography. He spoke on AI and integrity. We try to get Bruce Schneier every year to turn up in person, but instead he zooms in. But still, it was useful, and it's worth watching. I'd say the first two-thirds of his talk was a repeat of what he'd said the year before, which was maybe a repeat of what he'd said the year before then. But then the last third was net new, and it was about AI integrity. Okay, quickly, Jay Sammet was there really to plug his book. And then Sol Erdman just finished the whole thing off with a rousing call for technologists to think about democracy. And he presented his movement, the Center for Collaborative Democracy, and their grand bargain. Have a look at that, because right at the top, uh, Rafi Krikorian says getting AI right now is going to be crucial for democracy. And Rafi Krikorian comes from having been the CTO of the Democratic National Council, DNC. What does that C stand for? I can't remember. But anyway, Sol Erdman is also believes that democracy is at stake if we don't get this right. Okay, so that's it, and my voice is about to croak, about to go. I'm gonna stop there. Drummond, back to you.
Yeah, fantastic. I thank you for the overview. I can personally test that those talks were amazing, and I highly recommend them. I put in a link. Grand Park, that last one, Solar, the Grand Bargain Project's one of the most progressive and practical ways to do something about our current political situation. So really appreciate it, Riza. Great event, and I made a bunch of contacts. I want to follow up with you and several of them on personal AI, and my day job at the First Person Cooperative. That's part of our mission. So we'll be doing that. I want to make sure we have enough time for Martina. So quickly, any questions for Riza about any of that? Just checking in. And if not, thank you, Riza. We will turn it over to our final agenda items. Martina is going to share her interaction architecture model and walk us through it, so we can have a good discussion about several of the topics that come up. I see that Nikki's joined us too. Hi, Nikki. I gave a brief report for you.
Thank
On
you.
the
Sorry, I was
yeah.
late as usual.
No problem. So Martina, over to you.
Give me a second. Wait. Okay. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
If you have any questions or anything happens in the chat, I don't see the chat. So if it's urgent,
I will watch.
please
I watch the chat
notify
for you and
me,
let
and
you know.
otherwise we can have the discussion at the end.
Sure.
Okay, so as Drummond mentioned, I'm giving a quick overview of the interaction architecture model that I created. It consists essentially of information that I gathered and elicited over the past 4 weeks which includes several workshops, this working group meeting, other working group meetings, and different one-to-ones. And the goal is actually to challenge the model, to find better solutions, to identify any potential issues, or raise further ideas. Yeah, so let's get started. I started with an introduction before we dig into the boxes and lines. So decentralized trust graph, you know what it is. Maybe for the ones who do not know me, I'm a co-chair of this working group. I'm also the ecosystem architect of the First Person Network and the co-organizer of the First Person Cooperative. And yeah, today it's March 11th. Okay. Wait. So unlocking the potential of the decentralized trust graph. Let's look at it from the view of a prospect novice member. And we have a great task force, which Nikki, I'm happy you're here, which is the risk assessment and harms group. And so meet Daniel Wright. Nikki created personas for the decentralized trust graph. And the first persona, like the initiator on the pressure, is Daniel Wright. He's 31 years old, lives together with his partner in Berlin, in Germany, leads an open source foundation, and yeah, looks for a way to establish a trusted global online community, and stumbled over the decentralized trust graph with the verifiable trust communities. So as a first step, excuse me, my voice is also a little bit, I don't know, on vacation or something. I hope you can hear me fine. Otherwise, just let me know.
That's fine.
Okay, so Daniel, as a first step, sets up what is called the Personal Network Manager, which is a mobile app at the edge. It's literally located on Daniel's mobile phone or device. And it's essentially UI, UX based to trigger the creation, to help him navigate, so to speak, the decentralized trust graph. And it is not alone. So as I mentioned, this is the solution that is at the edge on his mobile device. And with that, he can manage the personal verifiable trust agent, which is, so to speak, the equivalent to his personal network manager, but resides in the cloud. So when he's setting up his personal network manager, at some point during the setup, the personal verifiable trust agent associated to him is generated. And as I mentioned, it's cloud-based. It's not directly visible or accessible by him. The reason is also to hide the complexity. So the interaction really happens through the personal network manager on the phone. But the verifiable trust agent is supposed to have a 724 availability. We all know as close to it as possible. And this is actually, let's say, the piece that is part of the decentralized trust graph, because it becomes the node which is representing Daniel. And it has some duties or activities. For example, when Daniel wants to join a verifiable trust community, he initiates this via his phone, the personal network manager, but the work is actually done by the verifiable trust agent. So now Daniel is a member of the decentralized trust graph, so to speak. He has his own node. And the question is, okay, how can he now proceed to create his verifiable trust community? So for that, it looks very, very similar. He has a web app for now. Let's just stick with it's a separate app to reduce complexity for the users, mainly because not all the users want also have their own trust communities. Most likely, the majority would just like to be a member of one or several of those trust communities. So it's a different app. which again is like kind of the front end. And during the setup triggers again an equivalent verifiable trust agent, which is now the community verifiable trust agent. And the role of this trust agent, it's also cloud-based, essentially the same requirements, more or less 724 availability, not directly visible. It also creates another node which represents a community, actually, and the tasks or duties of this, or activities of this verifiable trust agent, is to mainly to manage the community. So, for example, multi-signature workflows, community memberships, the governance, all those things.
And Martina?
Yeah.
I put my hand up. Can you go back to that last slide?
Sure.
Because I have to snap a picture of this. I will forever.
I can share the presentation afterwards.
Well, you should definitely do that, but I will forever. That is one of the coolest graphics of a cloud-based entity I have ever seen. It's really awesome. I had no idea you were gonna prepare these, but it's now such a benevolent being in the cloud. I just love that graphic. I had to tell you.
Thank you. Okay, now you actually helped me because I saw the next slide and then I remembered, oh, I need to add something before I show the next slide. Thanks for that. Now you have two nodes, right? So you have one node that represents the person, Daniel, via his personal verifiable trust agent. And you have the other node, this one, the community, the one that represents the community, represented as a node by the community verifiable trust agent. Now for a network, you also need edges. You can't only have nodes, right? You need some connections which are established via edges. And so to do that, Daniel becomes actually the first member of his own verifiable trust community. And so what happens is Daniel gets a membership credential that connects his personal verifiable trust agents to the community verifiable trust agent. And yeah, so he's in Berlin and can celebrate the launch of his first verifiable trust community. If we look at this from an abstraction layer deeper, but still rather abstract, so we have the prospect members view, Daniel's view, who is a person and thinks of, oh, I want to have that community. And then we have this decentralized trust graph view, apologies, where we see, okay, we have a person and we have the VTCs, the verifiable trust community, and we need somehow to connect the two of them. So the question is, how do we do that from a DTG/network perspective? And the first thing, these apps, I mean, it's the same as I just made the introduction before, just on a different level. So we need a node. The person needs to be represented via a node, which happens via the personal network manager and verifiable trust agent, which then becomes the actual node. And the same happens with the verifiable trust community, which in essence is just connected nodes that agree to a shared governance framework. And here again, the same. So we have the community network manager and the verifiable trust agent responsible for the community. Okay, this was the first part. Let me quickly go now to the architecture. Well, it's called interaction architecture, so don't expect like that's the wrong one. Sorry. It's not a classical, here are the boxes and these are the lines. It has some dynamics in it. This is why I call it interaction architecture, but the essence is you have like sort of abstracted architectural view with all the different components And you also have like the flow that I just explained. So it starts in essence with an entity, and an entity can be a person, can be a verifiable trust community, actually, can also be a device or an AI agent. So this is kind of one of the beauties of the decentralized trust graph. We have different categories of nodes or entities that then become nodes within the graph. So let's focus now on the person. So Daniel, if you take the example, is a living person. He's a prospect VTC member, and he is not a member of the decentralized trust graph yet. So let's see how this works. So what he first does is he creates the PNM, and here we have functionality of the PNM. It's essentially most of them just trigger the actual execution of the activity in his personal verifiable trust agent. Except, for example, personas, or at least that's the plan for now, handled directly via the PNM. So as a Daniel then here sets up the PNM. As a second step, this triggers the, I don't really dare to say automatic creation of a personal VTA, but it should be very low friction for Daniel. Let's put it that way. So you have the personal VTA in the cloud. Here again, the same activities that are actually executed here in case he wants to execute them. And in a third step, this then makes him a member of the decentralized trust graph. And in essence, when we scroll down here, this entire VTA box is what results in a node of the decentralized trust graph. In a fourth step, he then sets up his community network manager because he actually wants to create his own community, which then again, alike to the flow we saw before, creates the community VTA. And now he decides, okay, I have it. I also actually want to create my verifiable trust community. So he clicks here on this bigger, create verifiable trust community. This should be implemented in a way or available in a way that it's just one click, more or less. Which triggers then here the actual work of creating a VTC. This also includes, for example, configuring the governance and all the rules and where that thing is hosted and so on. So here this is clearly simplified. And for example, for the first person network, which is only one part of the decentralized trust graph, there is an idea that there would be kind of a tech package which creates like a basic verifiable trust community for me, for you, if you want to create one. In the next step, Daniel has created his VTC and becomes the first member of his own VTC. And this is done via the verifiable membership credential that is here, that is issued to him, and that, if you follow down here, actually creates the edge between the nodes, which are the community VTA and the personal VTA. And the verifiable membership credential is one of several pretty cool credentials, I think. They are called the DTG credentials. And for example, personas also have their verifiable persona credential. We here have a very special yet super important one, which is the personal credential, which is a special case of the membership credential. And here this also depends on the policy or the governance of of a specific verifiable trust community, because a PHC is only issued exactly once per VTC, and you have to get a PHC, a personal credential, for every VTC that you're in. But what you need to do in order to get one, so that the community thinks, okay, now we have proof that you really are a person, that is up to the specific rules of that VTC. And finally, we have here another special case, kind of. So a VTC can join other VTCs. And this then becomes a verifiable trust network, which is a collection of several VTCs. Yes, that's like the main of it, I think. I'm going to share this so you have access, you can comment it, you can challenge it, you can ask questions now, you can use it later, we can talk about it also next week. It's out there, and yeah, I hope it will trigger some fruitful discussions. That's it for me.
Okay, that's we have Steve's the first hand up. There's a lot to discuss here, and we have 8 minutes left, so let's dive into it. Go ahead, Steve.
Once again, I just kind of wanted to suggest a discussion topic, which is I'd like to discuss how pseudonymous identities can be introduced. In other words, where you can know that the person is a person and that they are not replicated within the verifiable trust community, but otherwise have very few details of their identity shared. Okay, thank you.
One question, could this be handled via personas?
Yeah, I think it could.
Yeah. So there's been some robust discussion and questions coming up in the it's like, you know, there's 2 meetings. There's what is being presented in the discussion that goes on. So in no particular order, Mick Bowman asked a great question that I think is going to be one we have to answer quite a bit. Conceptually, is there one decentralized trust graph, or can it be contextualized, meaning, be organization or community specific? And yeah, I tried to answer that and make sure it's clear that the standards we're producing are sort of like the standards for the web. I compare a lot, what you can do with the DTG to what you can do with the web. And the connectivity of websites, I mean, a browser can go to any website if they're actually using the open standards, but the connectivity between websites all depends on what the websites, who connects to who. And the same thing is true here. So when we talk about the decentralized trust graph, it is Martina used the term a member of the trust graph, and I'm a little uncomfortable saying anything's a member. I'd say it implements, meaning you have a node, but the context of membership, in my view, always falls in the context of a verifiable trust community. So it's a little bit like if we use the browser and web analogy, you can have a browser and you can browse anything, and now you are, quote, on the web, but you're not a website until you create a website. And if that's an analogy to what you walked us through, I think it actually works fairly well. The one difference there is that with the personal VTA nodes and the community VTA nodes, unlike a browser where you're just a client, in the DTG world, individuals and agents and devices are all nodes that can be represented and interconnect and communicate via the VTAs. So I hope that helps answer that question, Mick, because I think it's going to be one we get a lot as folks get used to this model. Again, we have officially 4 minutes left, so I can I can, or you can, if you can see them now, choose from other questions that came up, or folks can put their hands up. Brian Ragazzi, who, by the way, gave a great a talk at Quai Summit, asked, he said, configuring the governance and community would suggest it really isn't a one-click process. And he's quite right on that. I mean, if there was a sort of community in a box that has been pre-configured with a set of policies for a particular type of community, you could get it close to a one-click process. But that suggests, well, all communities are going to have very similar policies in terms of membership. And I expect the opposite is true, that verifiable trust communities, one of the big things that we end up focusing on is, policy, policy, policy. It's all about what are the policies in your community and what are the policies for you as an individual. One of the very first things we're looking at verifiable trust agents doing from, I'm sharing from a first person cooperative standpoint, is just contact mediation. It's just if you have essentially a way to be contacted via your verifiable trust agent, whether it's a web interface or an agent interface to that, what are your contact policies, right? Who can reach you for what reason? It's like this is we're moving away from the world of an unprotected address into an agent protected address. And that's what agent names will be. So just contact policies. Already you've invoked the need for policies and policy evaluation by a VTA. And the community VTAs, that policy will be quite rich. By the way, I'm going to stop and see what other questions are there, but I'll put in a link when we get to that policy question. There's a new book coming out from Phil Windley, the co-founder, along with Kalia, who is here of IIW, coming up in 6 weeks. And he's got a new book called Dynamic Authorization that is going to be finished, I think, in about a month. And it is most of the chapters already available online, and that's a link to it right there. And Kalia points out, are we going to bring these protocols to the ITF? That's a good question, Kalia. Do you want to say anything about that? Okay, I'm just.
Not
Go
really.
ahead.
The question is self-explanatory.
Okay, I just noticed that in the comments, and
Yeah,
it
I
is.
know. I mean, are you gonna bring it to the ITF? It's not like a
Well,
complicated question, Drummond.
sure. The classic pattern at Trust OIP, as with other emerging standards orgs, is we get something to the point where we're satisfied with it. Typically, it's at an implementation stage, and then it goes to ITF or W3C or wherever for formal standardization. So I personally believe we should follow that process, particularly because folks are wanting to implement. They are already implementing, so we want to catch up and make certain we stay current. But that's a very good point. ITF 27 is in San Francisco, so that might be a good. I know the process, and you are an expert in that process. We should look at that because it is a multi-year process to go through that. Any other questions? We could go backwards through some of the other ones that were asked here. Any other questions that folks have? Brian, go ahead.
Yeah, in the one that you brought up, the comment of mine, I had also had a question there, which kind of connects to it. If you had like you were describing a pre-designed a governance framework that someone could use when creating a community. Can the governance of the community be be modified after creation, or would that be a security problem?
Well, the short answer I would provide is yes, it has to, in most cases, it will have to be able to be modified. And yes, it can be a security problem, which means that's why policy. It's, again, I've been talking with Phil Windley about that. He's one of the advisors to First Person Cooperative. And he goes deep into that in his book. And spoiler alert: AI agents and AI examination policies are not a panacea. They're a good tool, but they're it's a lot of policy evaluation work that has to go on to reveal if your policies have any security issues. But I think you have to be able to evolve community policy, and that'll be a really, really important part of managing a verifiable trust community. I see we're just hitting time, but Nicholas, go ahead.
Yeah, I just great work, Martina. There's a lot of thought that's gone into this, and I think having an open discussion over this interaction architecture is where all the interesting things really come into play. I really kind of wanted to just touch on that exact topic Brian and Drummond mentioned about decentralized governance and establishing an appropriate trust envelope so that the domain of said governance is consistent, not just on a single interaction, but across time. They're absolutely, and again, the whole point of this entire type of architecture of a decentralized trust graph is to allow for declaration of like autonomous declaration of structure, right? In this case of governance. And there are discrete ways in which one, you can fix, or two, you can iterate on governance regimes without actually compromising the trust envelope you establish with said governance architecture. I think discussing how we do that is going to be one of the more fun things we do at IAW coming up.
Definitely, absolutely. I'm hoping, and I know we're over time, but I'm just pointing your point about the scope and the context of governance being in decentralized trust graph architecture, the VTC. VTC it is like turning out to be the critical sort of aha point. I have the presentation I've been using now to explain DTG architecture makes that point in spades. So we'll continue this discussion next week, and we'll start to focus in on key questions that the interaction architecture here that Martina's presented brings up, because you're right. These are the key things that's what we're here to do, is work through them. So I know we're over time. I want to thank you, Martina. Absolutely an award for the best graphics I've seen yet for a presentation in 2026. And this is a great start on the diagram. Is this shared? Are folks able to at least view it? Or can we put a link to it in the notes?
I shared the link just before.
Oh, you already shared the link. Fantastic.
Yeah, I hope everyone has it. It's in the chat.
Super. All right. Thank you again very much. This is just, I love getting that deep down in this. And yeah, you're getting lots of thumbs ups here. And we will. So again, the meeting page has all the links to the different repos. So if you have questions or discussions you want to start in the context of any of those, the 5 that we now have active task forces, get them going there. Reason I'm going to tell you, we're going to probably add one on personal AI agents and their role in this infrastructure here soon. I'll be reaching out to you anyway. And thank you everyone again for coming. We will still, I always put in a plug for the APAC call. Sankarshan and I are there every time. But if folks, are listening to this recording and saying, oh, what about APAC? We'll talk to you at 6 o'clock Pacific tonight. Thank you all. And again, thanks, Martina. Great stuff.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good day.
You bet.
Thank you.
You bet. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.